Mercer. Mijn naam is Brainpower en ik ben vandaag samen met Wouter. De hosts zijn wij voor dit hoofdpodium. En we gaan door met de volgende gast, dus ik switch gelijk naar Engels. En de volgende gast is echt heel interessant.
Ja.
The next guest is a Scottish actor and author. He wrote a book, he wrote multiple books, one was called Clanlands. And he's also involved in a lot of video games. But he was in a lot of films. The new Rambo, the 2008 Rambo, Colombiana. And do we have any DC Comics fans here? Come on, man, Utrecht. Do we have some DC fans? Because this man was also in Aquaman, King Atlan. But you also may know him from Outlander.
Yay!
Where are my real Outlander fans?
Woo!
And then he is also in House of the Dragon. But you may know him from the Hobbit trilogy as Dwalin. So give him a super warm welcome, the one and only McTavish! Let's sit down right here. We got a beautiful chair for you, for the guest. I guess I gotta sit right here. You gotta sit there. They swapped it. They changed us around.
Wow, there's a little kind of barrier. That's interesting. Just in case I launch myself into the crowd. Yeah. Okay.
So we're very happy that you're here because you split your time between New Zealand and London. Is that correct?
Yes, I live part of the time in New Zealand, part of the time in the UK, and part of the time just on planes, really. So I spend a lot of time on planes.
A lot of time on planes. So I want to ask you a few questions before we move on into the Q&A with the audience.
Yes.
So if you guys have any questions, get ready to ask Mr. Graham McTavish your question. Of course, you can get your autographs over there at the guest square, but we're just going to chat up a little bit and then we go into the Q&A. So before we get things started, can you elaborate a bit on how you got into acting? What were the early days like?
Well, okay, how I got into acting. Well, acting was by accident. Like pretty much everything of significance in my life really has been an accident. Which is somewhat of a blessing sometimes, because when you go into things without knowledge, it protects you from understanding that perhaps you wouldn't do it if you knew what was coming. In the case of acting, I used to do comic sketches with my best friend at school. We would write sketches together, we would perform them, but we were interested in being writers, we weren't interested in being actors. But my drama teacher at school was always asking me to be in plays, and I always said no. And then on this one occasion, he came to me, and he said that the actor that was supposed to be in this play had fallen ill. And this was 3 days before the production, 3 days. And he said, would you do it? And to this day, I have no idea why I agreed. Literally no idea. I think maybe there was a girl in the cast that I fancied or something like that, and I thought this might impress her. So I agreed, and I learned the lines in 3 days, which I probably couldn't do now. Went on, it was a comedy. People laughed, there was applause, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is nice. This is a nice feeling. And then I did it as an amateur actor between school and university, and I did a few things. And then I did a lot at university. And then in 1983, I became a professional actor. And so I've been a professional actor now for, my God, 41 years. How terrifying is that?
No, that's great, actually.
Well, yeah.
You started out doing the comedy sketches with your friend?
Yeah.
And then you also did a lot of work in London's West End, right? Some theater work?
I did a lot of theatre, yes. I did a lot of theatre. I haven't done theatre for 18 years, but I did a lot of theatre. The last theatre job I did was at the Royal Court in London, and I think it's possibly my favourite entrance of all time. I was playing a very, very unpleasant Scottish character, not unusual. And in this particular play, it's set in an apartment, and there were two people in the apartment, and they were having a baby, they were arguing, she leaves, he calls for a doctor is expected, right? And then you hear this knock on the door, and nobody's mentioned my character's name at all, people don't even know I'm in it. There's a knock at the door, he goes to the door, opens it, sees me behind it, shuts the door, bolts it, flees to the other side of the stage. And everyone in the audience is like, oh my God, you know, why is he doing that to the doctor? And then on the other side of the door, I am standing with a fireman's axe, a real fireman's axe. And then I really axe through the door. So the axe comes flying through the door, and every single night, people were terrified by this. Because the thing about theatre is that you enter into a contract with the audience. The audience know that things are fake, and you know that they know, right? So it's suspension of disbelief. However, when somebody actually axes through a real door, it breaks that contract. And the audience are just suddenly like, Jesus Christ, why is he, who the fuck is that? And then I come through the door, the axe goes through the door, I open the door, walk on, I don't speak, I just walk over to where this guy is standing, I headbutt him, I grab him by the hair, I drag him to the front of the stage, I had him there, so the front row was just on the edge of the stage, I had him like that, I pull out a box cutter blade, and his line to me was, my baby is expecting a doctor. And I turned to him and said, well, there'll be 2 cases for him to look at then one day, and just slashed his face open with a box cutter blade, which proceeded to spray blood all over the audience. And that was by far the best entrance I've ever had. I'll never have another entrance like it. Everyone was completely terrified. I remember Ian McKellen came to see it. I didn't know Ian then. And he came up to me afterwards and said, where did they find you? You're terrifying. But anyway, that was fun. That was fun. That was the last time I was on stage.
So could you say that that's kind of like the place where you hone your craft, if you will? Or?
On stage, theatre acting teaches you a lot. It teaches you to be able to pivot. Emma Thompson was talking about the difference between stage and film acting, particularly in America. In America, there's more of a division between film and television acting and theatre acting. So if you're a theatre actor in America, generally speaking, you're not doing a lot of film and television, and vice versa. Whereas in Britain, there's a much more of a cross-pollination. It's probably the same here in the Netherlands. You're in theatre, you're on TV, you're in film, you're moving around. And with theatre acting, you are either on stage or you're off stage. And when you're on, you're in character. And when you're off, you're not in character. But a lot of people find that concept quite difficult to grasp. I was doing a TV show recently where an actor said to me, how do you just suddenly become the character you're playing and then just stop? And I explained that to him. I said, well, that's how you do it in theatre. So theatre is a great training. Yeah.
Exactly, thanks. So you were in King Lear.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
You were in Rambo, the 2008 Rambo.
Yes, I was, yes.
And Colombiana, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So before we move into the other things you did, these are such diverse creations, such diverse films. How do you end up in that range of film? Is that an accidental thing, or you set them out?
I'd worked with the director of King Lear before, and so he asked me to be in it. In the case of Rambo, I just moved to Los Angeles, and I'd given up. I was supposed to be in Lord of the Rings, the musical. Incredible, I know. I mean, you really would not pay to hear me sing. You would beg me to stop. But in this particular case, I was supposed to play Sauron, the evil wizard. You know? No, Saruman, sorry. Apologies to Lord of the Rings fans. Saruman, the evil wizard, yes. And all he had to do was walk on, be evil, come off. He didn't sing, he didn't dance, not surprisingly. And anyway, I was supposed to be doing that, but for various reasons, I ended up pulling out of that show and decided to move to America. And when I moved to America, the first audition I had was for Rambo. I'd been there a week. And I went to the office for the meeting. And I'm sitting there, and I'd learned the lines, and I was looking around, and there were all these posters everywhere, and they were all of Sylvester Stallone in Cobra, Rambo, Rocky, you know, Demolition Man. They were everywhere. And I suddenly realized, oh my God, I'm in his office. I'm in his office. And as that was computing in my brain, I felt this presence sort of loom up next to me. And I just heard this voice say, hey, how you doing? And I looked up, and there he was. And I will try and do an impersonation of how I reacted. I literally sort of stood up. I sort of went, just gibberish, complete gibberish. Like, and he just said, good luck, good luck. And I ended up getting the job. And that experience of doing Rambo was probably one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life. You were being directed by Rambo. I mean, in every sense of the word. You know, if anybody injured themselves on Rambo, he would use the phrase, man up, with no irony whatsoever. Because he actually impaled his own bicep with a piece of bamboo, went through his bicep. And he was showing it, yeah, bamboo, went right through. He was doing a stunt, and it went right through his bicep. And he's standing there, check it out, and we were, oh my God, you need to go to the hospital. This is terrible, we were in the middle of the jungle. And he went, no, don't worry about it, it's okay, we'll be fine. And at that moment you realized you could never, ever complain about anything at all. I pulled a muscle in my leg, and I was in pain basically for weeks. I could never mention it. Never. He would just go, no. So yeah, it was an extra. I kept a journal in Thailand. We shot in northern Thailand, and one day I will publish it because it is beyond belief.
I definitely want to read that.
Oh, it's beyond belief.
So let me get it straight. So Sly Stone, impaled his own bicep.
Yeah, by accident.
And then he does he tell himself man up or?
Well, he did man up. He didn't even. He just thought it was funny. Everyone else was freaking out. The star and director of the movie has just impaled himself with a piece of bamboo in the middle of the jungle, and he's just like, yeah, don't worry about it, it'll be fine.
So nobody would ever complain?
No, nobody complained.
Great. So you have been a part of a lot of big movies, and actually one thing that I really loved is your part in Aquaman, the 2018 DC Comics film, King Atlan. Is it an accidental thing that you play these mythical figures sometimes, or is that like
well, you mean like fantasy and that? Well, it's I mean, I love fantasy. I love watching it, I love reading it. I guess it's somewhat of an accident. I guess what happens is that you start to become known for a certain genre, and people go, oh yeah, he was in The Witcher, he was in House of the Dragon, blah blah blah. They're fantasy things, let's get him in there. He was in The Hobbit. So it becomes a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy that you end up doing those things, but I love doing them. I don't do many jobs where I have a mobile phone. It's mainly swords, candles, horses, cloaks, axes. Not a lot of sitting behind a desk in a suit. No.
King Atlan, the first ruler of Atlantis.
Yes, indeed.
Phenomenal piece.
Tried his best. Yeah. It just all went a bit wrong for him, really. I mean, he didn't know it was going to sink. Good grief.
So, you can obviously see you have a lot of fans in the room. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Before we talk more about movies, I want to touch on one thing. You have your own company called McTavish Spirits.
Yes.
And that's pretty interesting. Is that a passion of yours that you...
Yeah, well, it's a bourbon company. Now, it's unfortunately not for sale in Europe yet. We haven't got distribution here, although I think we're about to get international distribution. But I've loved bourbon for about 20 years. I was introduced to it by, excuse me, a good friend of mine, Nolan North, who I did Uncharted with. And I was at his house. And being Scottish, you have this sort of arrogant, condescending assumption that bourbon is like an American Scotch. They just can't call it Scotch. But then I tried it, and I've never looked back. So I was a sort of closet bourbon lover for 20 years, and now I'm out of the closet. I love bourbon, and I've got 3 now. I've got 1 rye and 2 bourbons, and it's great fun. It's been an education, but again, something that I went into by accident. I didn't plan it. I got approached by somebody, and I just sort of went, oh yeah, why not? Okay, that sounds fun. And here we are. I've now got a bourbon brand.
And I checked out the site. It looks beautiful. The product looks great. The bottles, the label.
Thank you. Yeah, one of my oldest friends designed the labels from Scotland. Yeah.
Wonderful stuff. McTavish Spirits. And I want to ask you something about your role as Dwalin. Yeah, the Hobbit trilogy. There's this incredibly dominant uniqueness about how you portray that character. I mean, to me, this powerful way of conveying a certain no-nonsense vibe of that character with a sense of humor. How do you prepare for a role that iconic?
Well, with doing The Hobbit, we were all very aware of the legacy that we were inheriting from Lord of the Rings, and an enormous army of Tolkien fans. Very similar with Outlander, similar with quite a few things I've done actually that have a very, very big existing fan base. The Witcher, everything to do with Game of Thrones, all of those sort of things. So you approach it with humility and respect for that, but you have to just bring your own take on it. So you don't want to get crushed by this expectation. So much like Outlander, much like the other things I mentioned, with The Hobbit, I thought of my father. My father's been a great inspiration to me in many things. Definitely a bit of my father in Dougal Mackenzie. Definitely a bit of my father in Dwalin. It's a very Scottish kind of dour, stoic mentality. Just, life is hard, but just deal with it. But he also had a great sense of humor. So when I thought of Dwalin, I thought of him. And he's no longer with us, but and sadly he wasn't alive when I made The Hobbit. But I think he would have probably recognized himself in it, not the actual look of him. I mean, my dad thankfully did not look like Dwalin. That would have been very disturbing to have a dwarf with this sort of tattooed head and axes hanging around the house. But he was an inspiration for me.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
And just to completely switch it up, is it true that you were walking on your knees for 2.5 years doing those films?
No. No. We thought we were huge. There's a photograph of me as Dwalin with Peter Jackson, and he looks like a child next to me. I'm so gigantic in my outfit. My outfit weighed about 32 kilograms, and so I was this sort of massive figure. We all were. It was only when we saw ourselves on the monitor next to full-sized people that we realized, well, we just looked like little kids, which was actually really, really depressing. We were, oh my God, we thought we were like warriors, and there we are walking around and everyone's looking down at us. But they did some clever stuff with not motion capture, slave motion control, which is how they achieved a lot of the height disparity.
Right. Is any of the 3 films a favorite of yours?
Oh, I think the first one's my favorite, because really that's when, because we filmed them chronologically, that's when we just started, that's where we really got to know each other, and it was very, very, very about the dwarves, and we had such a great experience on that. Bag End, everything to do with that first film was such a revelation. And we were thrown into things that we just couldn't imagine. I mean, there were plenty of things that happened in the other films as well. Having fish poured on your head, going in barrels down a river, coming out of a toilet. you know, just every day there was Peter Jackson would impose some fresh horror upon you, and go because Peter sort of talks a little bit like that, and he loves watching other people suffer. What? He does, in the nicest possible way.
Right.
And he's a very, very gentle sadist. And he particularly enjoyed being sadistic towards me, Richard, Jed, a couple of other people. We were his favourites to punish. And so I was picked for the fish, you know, the barrel thing, the coming out of a toilet, all of that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Nice. So I want to move into the Q&A with you. If anybody in the audience has a question for Graham McTavish, please line up in front of the mic. And by the way, Graham, I love that you did the voice for Thundercracker in the Transformers video game. That's crazy. Any Transformers fans? No? Not at all? Oh, 3 people in the back. I love you too. So we got a nice line of people. You can ask your questions to Graham McTavish. Go ahead.
Right, ask away.
Hello again.
Oh wow.
I had a question, and I still want to ask it, but from him talking about all the books you've written, to my shame, I have to admit I don't know for sure if you've done this. My question is, are you ever going to write a book like Wayward by Sam Neill?
Am I tempted to write another book with Sam? Is that the question?
No.
Oh, hold on, I'm going to walk down to where you are because there's so much reverberation. I'm going to come down to you.
Iets dichter in de microfoon spreken, iets dichter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam has written a book, Wayward.
Waypoints.
Yeah, so Waypoints.
Or as I called it, what's the point?
And I was wondering if you're ever going to write a book like that.
A book about myself. An autobiography. Well, I don't know. Maybe. I've always been a bit, I mean, this is no disrespect to Sam. I've always been a bit kind of self-conscious about the idea of just writing a book about me. I kind of always like to have a sort of filter, a little bit. So I am planning to write a fiction book. So I'm working on that. I'm starting that next year. But you never know. You never know. I mean, I've definitely got some stories. I mean, I could devote an entire book just around that.
Waypoints, and I've got the Clemens books. I'd like that one next week.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, Clanlands was great to write, but I'm going to try, maybe. Well, if you want to read it, it's worth it just for you. So I'll just write it now. I'll be doing it in the back. Yeah, sure. Hello.
Hi there. First of all, I want to thank you for Dante, Paul Classic now, but I like you in that. I also do the Mackenzie naturally. My question's about that. Recording that in Scotland as a Scottish native, what were the areas or places you recorded that you are most proud of as a Scottish native, that you think that everybody should go see because it has such a great history?
Yeah. So the places in Scotland that I'm most proud of in Scotland, well, that we filmed in. I mean, we did a lot, obviously, inside the studio. Obviously very proud of the studio, beautiful place. If you're ever in Cumbernauld, please pay it a visit. Cumbernaulds motto, by the way, is, what's it called, Cumbernauld? Somebody actually sat in a room and thought that up. I mean, what should be the slogan of our town? What's it called, Cumbernauld? Anyway, Cumbernauld, maybe not so much. Culloden, Glencoe, lots of places in Edinburgh. Chorus, which is where actually when you watch the forthcoming season, the second part, that's where we film stuff. They're very beautiful. I mean, the thing about Scotland is, I mean, Doon Castle, of course, Castle Lear. It's full of surprises. Edinburgh on its own, you could spend your whole life in Edinburgh and always discover something new, and I have. So it's a great walking city, much like Amsterdam, actually. And I don't know Utrecht. I don't know it. I probably won't see it because I'm in here, but I gather that is also a very beautiful city. But yeah, those are my favorites.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But before I ask my question, I have a request. Could you give me your best Dracula line?
My best Dracula line?
Yeah.
Oh God, you see, I know this is terrible, but I forget the lines. I forget the lines. I mean, I'm so sorry, I recorded that years ago. So if you give me the line, I will repeat it.
The one that was, I am glad Dracula Tepesh and I have had enough. Like when
Oh yeah.
he gets hit with the whip.
Yes, right. Okay, so I am Vlad Dracula Tepesh, and I have had enough! Thank you.
So my question is, basically, when you got the script for Castlevania, what decisions did you make on your own? And like what creative decisions did you bring to the character?
What creative decisions did I bring to the character of Dracula in Castlevania? Well, I'd played Dracula before on stage, so I was a bit familiar with him, but this was a very different take on him. Warren Ellis wrote a really interesting version of Dracula, because I think what was wonderful about it and what I tried to bring to it is that this is a man who is very capable of deep love, and that's what was interesting about the character. It's quite easy to play a vicious, cruel, manipulative Dracula, but one that has a great deal of love in it, and when that love is taken away, how that affects him, that's what really interested me in the character, and that's what I tried to bring across as much as possible. So with somebody who is capable of love, which is all of us, you just have to invest your own personality in that. How would you feel? How would I feel if the woman I loved was murdered by people in my village? It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. I probably wouldn't have the reach and power of Dracula, but I would definitely bring them to account. Yeah. So you invest those things in a character like Dracula.
Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, hello. Fabulous outfit.
So much. I have two questions actually. One. Okay. What has been the most difficult role that you had to play or that you had to prepare for?
The most difficult role that I had to prepare for? Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, roles, the thing about acting generally, and I always try to tell this to people, is that it's an extension of play. I mean, that's why they're called plays when you're on stage. And all of us can remember when we were children, and some of us can probably still feel that now in our own lives. I mean, you're dressed in a costume, so you're engaging in play. And that is a very, very vivid, real thing in our brains. And actors really just don't lose that as they get older. So they have an ability to be in touch with it, as the best way I can describe it. So when I'm in a role, I don't necessarily find them difficult because I love play. So I can be in character, in a very difficult character. I was doing Spartacus this year, and there were some very, very difficult scenes. But as soon as the scene is over, I'm just me. I'm fine. I've never really been one of those actors that just sort of goes off and lives in a wood for 6 months and sort of learns how to be, a Highlander. I remember when we were doing Outlander, Duncan Lacroix, before we started filming, actually went and lived in the wilderness for, I don't know, I think he lasted about 5 days, and then he came back because he missed a warm bed. So I've never done anything like that, but I mean, I don't have favorite roles. I've been very lucky. I've really enjoyed pretty much all of them. I try and think of things that get me into character are things that have happened in my real life. So grief, loss, love, anger, we all have those emotions within us, and you just have to access them in the moment.
Thank you.
Yes, volgende vraag.
Hi. I just sorry. I really liked you in The Hobbit, and I really liked you in Outlander, but so did my mother. Unfortunately, she's at the moment sick at home.
Okay.
Would you mind just saying goodbye to her?
Saying hi to your mother?
Please.
Yes, I'll say hello to your mother.
Thank you.
Is it on?
Yes, it is.
It's on? Hello, what's her name?
Jolika.
Yolaka.
Jolika. Yes.
Yolaka. Hello, I'm here on stage in Utrecht. I'm so sorry you're not here. Your lovely daughter's here. I'm sorry that you're sick. I've been sick. I know what that's like. It's just so boring. There's no fun at all. So when you get better, I hope we get the chance to meet.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Nice.
I have a question for the whole series. Do you watch all the series yourself, or do you watch a part?
Do I watch what I've been in?
Yes.
No. A lot of actors don't. I mean, I have seen things that I've been in a bit. Like I saw the first 2 episodes of Outlander at the premiere in San Diego. I saw the premieres of The Hobbit. I've seen those films with my children as they've grown up. I've seen a little bit of Creature. I've seen a little bit of The Witcher, but I don't sit and watch them because it's not a painful experience, but it's just, you see the things that are wrong. You see the mistakes, or what you see as mistakes, and also you experienced it in a completely different way. So whenever I've watched The Hobbit, for instance, I remember every single moment and how that felt and what we were doing. And it takes you out of the experience. So, I remember, what we had for lunch that day. I remember the journey to set. I remember the jokes that we were making just before we did the scene, and which can be fun, but I don't really sit down and watch my own stuff. It's kind of weird, I know, but I like to just watch other people's stuff that I can lose myself in. And that's why I don't, I try not to watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Next.
Hi, I hope you're having a really good time today here. So it's been a while since The Hobbit released, and since then we have had a lot of new talking projects with Amazon series, a new movie coming out soon.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered coming back to the franchise?
Coming back to Middle Earth.
Yeah, for another role.
Yeah, listen, never say never. Peter Jackson famously said after Lord of the Rings that he would never do another Middle Earth film, and lo and behold, we ended up doing 3. So, never say never, but it would depend. I don't think I could be a dwarf again. It would almost be disrespectful, really, to Dwarven. And also, the experience of being a dwarf is very unique. It's an experience that only, as Richard Armitage said at the time, only 13 of us will ever know what that's like. And it was great, but I'm not rushing to go back to Middle Earth. I had a great time there, but it's like a really great holiday that you had. Sometimes if you go back to where you had the great holiday, it's not as good the second time around. So, we'll see.
Hopefully, one way.
Hopefully, who knows? Who knows?
So we got about 10 minutes left for a couple of great questions.
Hello.
Let's go.
Hello.
Yes.
I was just wondering if you were able to play any other fantasy race in The Hobbit, for example, which one would you have picked yourself?
Oh, if I wanted to be in The Hobbit as a different character, I always say Galadriel. She just had the best outfits. She would just swan on, speak really slowly and softly, and then leave. And it was great. What a great role. Super light costume, minimal makeup, apart from the ears. And Galadriel. Obviously Gandalf. And, there are great. There are so many great characters in The Hobbit. But I was just glad to play Galadriel. Hello, young man.
Have you ever broke a bone when you were performing on stage?
Have I ever what?
Have you ever broke a bone when you were performing on stage?
I couldn't quite understand. Have I ever done a what? Did you ever break any bones while performing on stage?
Break any bones?
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
Break any bones performing on stage? No, I've been stabbed. I've been stabbed on stage. I got stabbed in the arm. I've been stabbed in the ribs. I got punched in the face. I got kneed in the groin. Yeah, quite a lot of injuries on stage actually, but I never got a chance to break a bone. No, but yeah, I've never broken anything, touch wood. But yeah, next time I'm on stage, I'll make sure to break a bone. Yeah. Yes.
I'm Jessica, I'm a small.
Okay.
I'm a big Outlander fan.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if it was hard to learn Gaelic.
Was it hard to learn Gaelic for Outlander? Well, yes. I mean, we had Gaelic classes, or as Stephen Walters called them, Gaelic classes. And Gary Lewis, who played Colin, famously, I mean, he hated doing the Gaelic. Hated it. So when he would rehearse, he would just recite the names of Scotch malt whiskies. Lafroig, Brewer Claric, Alveni, Ardveg, Lagavulin. He would just do that. So we had classes, but for the really big speeches, so no matter who you ask, they're lying if they said they learnt it off by heart. So you would have these, what they call idiot balls. So people would be standing, you know, with these things, and you'd have to pretend you weren't reading them. But it's the only way, because I don't speak Gaelic. I wish I did. So, yeah. Let's get this man, good grief. What an outfit. Hi.
Question, of all the movies you've played here, have you ever taken any prop home?
Have I ever taken a prop home? Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, they gave me the axes from The Hobbit. I've got the guns and the holster from Preacher. I've got a sword from House of the Dragon. I've got a few things. But when we were doing The Hobbit, in Smaug's lair, there was all the gold, you know? And it was literally thousands and thousands of pieces of gold. And Jed Brophy, who plays Nori, he said to me, listen, I'm going to start stealing the gold. And I'm going to put it in my boots. And then at the end of it, we'll divide it up. And I thought, okay. So we shot on there for weeks. And between us, we accumulated hundreds and hundreds of pieces of Smaug's gold. I've still got them, some of that at home. But Peter Jackson came up to him one day and said, now, Jed, I know you're stealing the gold. I know you're doing it. But if I don't actually see you steal it, you can keep it. And he never saw it. He always managed to fool it. So we ended up with hundreds and hundreds of pieces of Smaug's gold. So there's probably a whole section of the film where there's this empty space where Smaug's gold should be, and that's where we put it. So,
Thank you.
yeah, sure.
Nice question about the props.
Hello. I have more of a request.
Oh God.
I want you to do a Dracula line, but from the game and not the anime. It is, but what is a man but a miserable pile of secrets?
Right. Okay. Right. Dracula. What is a man but a miserable pile of secrets? My pleasure. My pleasure.
Are there any questions? No House of the Dragon questions?
Yeah.
Any questions about Mr. Mackenzie, the Outlander character that we all love?
Don't be shy. You can ask anything you like, really. I don't.
We got 5 minutes for one or two more questions. If not,
Ja, dit even voor mij vasthouden.
oh, there's somebody right there. Let's go.
Here she comes. Yes, hello.
Ik denk dat het niet meer gaat lukken.
Hello. If you could choose any theater of musical to play in, what would it be?
Any theatre play, well, it wouldn't be a musical. It wouldn't be a musical. No, I'd be booed off stage.
Ik dacht dat je wel een vraag stellen, maar nu staan er opeens 5.
Yeah, when I was an amateur, incredibly. I played
Ja, nou die kunnen niet allemaal meer.
the
want ze hebben
Puerto
allemaal 5
Rican
minuten.
leader of the Sharks.
Maakt niet uit.
Obviously. Obviously, there weren't a lot of Puerto Ricans where I grew up. So, I mean, it would never happen now. I mean, never. But I was a Puerto Rican. Play, well, I'd love to play Macbeth. I'd love to do, there's loads of plays. I'd love to do The Crucible. I'd love to play John Proctor. I'd love to do Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf by Edward Albee. The list is long. The list is long. Yeah, hopefully I will.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Hello.
Hello. Can you tell a funny anecdote from Outlander, maybe?
Funny anecdote from Outlander. Well, yeah, we have a lot of laughs on Outlander. I mean, the one that always comes to mind is when we shot The Wedding. And The Wedding just took a very long time. We shot it twice, in fact. We had to shoot it all again because they decided that there weren't enough candles. So we had to all come back. I mean, apart from, you know, Katrina not actually being able to sit down, so she had to lean against this thing because of her giant dress. But when the wedding ceremony was going on, of course, Sam has this extraordinary, ridiculously long name as Jamie Fraser. Was it Jamie Malcolm Mackenzie? What's it? James Malcolm. Do you remember?
I don't know.
You don't know? You don't know Jamie's name?
I don't know. I do know.
James Alexander Malcolm Mackenzie Fraser. That's it. Yes, James Alexander Malcolm Mackenzie Fraser. Very, very long name. Duncan Lacroix standing behind me as Murta, and he just was muttering under his breath all the way through it. More names. So there was Optimus Prime, Tarzan, King Kong, and we would just break out laughing. And he kept doing it. He would think of a new name. And eventually the director got very annoyed and we had to stop. But yeah, that was definitely a funny moment. Duncan made me laugh every day. He was very, very funny.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks. So we got room for at least one more question.
Come on.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
What's your favorite character from House of the Dragon?
My favorite character from House of the Dragon? Well, obviously, Sir Harold Westerling. No, who's my favorite character? You're talking about funny things. Paddy Considine, who played the King, we had a great relationship. He was always making me laugh. Always. We had a great time on that show. And so, yes, I would probably have loved to play him. It's a great character.
And a final question for Mr. Graham McTavish.
Yes.
Okay, hi. I watched you in Lucifer and The Witcher, but you played a bad guy there. My question is, do you prefer the villain part or like the hero good guy?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a saying that the devil has the best lines, and it is sadly true. When you play a villain, I mean, look, I don't necessarily view those characters as villains. I think it's important that we realize that people who do bad things don't think of themselves as bad. They do them anyway. And in fact, a lot of bad things are done in the name of good. In fact, I think it was Hegel, who was a famous philosopher, said that the people who commit the most evil in the world are those who believe that they're doing it for the benefit of mankind. And somebody like Father Kennedy in Lucifer certainly believed that he was doing everything for the benefit of mankind. He just went a little bit far. They always go a bit far. And similarly, in The Witcher, I play Dijkstra, and he's trying to protect his kingdom. But in doing so, he does some pretty dodgy things. Dougal Mackenzie believes in Scotland and the restoration of the Stuart monarchy, all of those things. And in doing that, he will do bad things. He's also someone who can't control himself. So, he sees a pretty woman, it's terrible. I mean, poor guy. Yeah, well, the poor women. I mean, but he has a really lovely relationship with Garrus. So I never see them as villains. I see them as definitely flawed, but not people who wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and go, another day for me to be evil. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. I mean, even the worst kind of sociopath has an internal logic that justifies their actions. And not that any of the characters I've played have been sociopaths, as far as I know, but I think it's an interesting thing about humanity, is that we do things to protect ourselves, to protect those we love, to protect our country, to protect whatever it is. And sometimes in doing that, they have very, very, very bad consequences. And I think that's really the history of humanity, is that we are flawed people. None of us are perfect, well, apart from me.
Well, Graham, that's a phenomenal answer. I'm afraid this was the last question. And we're going to end this the right way. I want you all to get in the shot. We're going to shoot a quick video. I want you all to be in the shot. Dutch Comic-Con, make some noise for the one and only. Thank you, sir. Thanks so much. Phenomenal. Thank you.